Rangers Journal now.
Guys, good evening. How are we all doing? I've got great news for you. Rangers are out the relegation zone and we're climbing the table. We now find ourselves in the sunny heights of 8th in the table. And what could possibly go wrong now? In a weekend that Russell Martin described the football was brilliant, the best he's seen us, that he liked us, and we looked a threat. I'll go round the guys here. Doug, how are you keeping it?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Happy to be on after a win, finally. As ridiculous as it feels to be saying it after so many weeks.
Yep. Ricky, you keeping well, mate?
I am, Ryan, mate. Good evening, lads. Good to see you again, pal. It was a decent enough result, but by God, last minute scenario, I was actually hoping amongst hope that it finished at 1 each, because that would have sent or probably for me would have been the end of Russell Martin. But so we cling on, kick the can down the road until the next sort of a catastrophe where we'll be back getting ready of Russell Martin again, because it's inevitable. It's a matter of time. As I say, all we're doing is kicking the can down the road, but the day will come, I'm sure.
Definitely. Scott, you doing all right, mate? Monday's done.
I'm doing very well, thank you. Doing very well. Had a nice weekend. Parts of the game enjoyable yesterday. Parts not so much. So I'm glad to be back again. How about you keeping, Ryan? All right?
I'm feeling slightly more human today than I was yesterday. Thanks for asking. So, for those who don't know, we had our quarterly journal night out on Saturday night where we frequented the Rosevale, a good Rangers pub, and also Oswald's there. And it's safe to say we booted the backside out of it, to put it politely. So, feeling a little bit tender, but here we are now. So, we're not going to call off injured. Doug, I'm going to cut to the chase, mate, with these after-match comments. Like, as I say, he said the words brilliant football, best he's seen us, he really liked us and looked a threat. We're playing Livingston to score out the championship via the playoffs, mate. I mean, he's got to be gaslighting us, surely.
Well, apart from the first comment, in context of where we are right now, he's not wrong. As I say, I wouldn't go with the first one about being brilliant, but we were better, which is a start. We did look a bit more threatening than usual, which is a start. For 45 minutes, we looked like a bit more like a Rangers team, which is a start. But that's all it is. The second half, we kind of reverted to type, and ultimately, needed a last gasp goal to actually get the victory. So it's nice to be able to say some of those things for a change, but it's not the sort of the roses that I think he was trying to paint. It's as I say, it's just a start and nothing more.
Definitely. Well, listen, here's a bit of trivia for you. I'm going to come to you on this, Rick. I'm actually just going to go round you all quickly before I come back to you, Ricky, just with a point here. When was the last time that Rangers lost a domestic away game? What's your best guess on that, mate?
What, team-wise or week-wise?
No, team-wise. When's it, as far as domestic away games are concerned for Rangers at this moment? When was the last time we lost one?
I was going to say either St Mirren or Motherwell.
When?
It would have been probably during the split. No, in fact, we didn't lose any prior to the split last season.
Right, Scotty, quickly.
Early 2024.
Right, Doug, you better not Googled it.
No, I was going to say I'm not. I can tell you when the last time we lost away to Livingston was, but I'm not sure about in general.
Well, I had to look this up earlier on. I heard it on another podcast, so I had to go and double check it and check the guy's maths. Boxing Day 2024. So as far as 2025 concerned, Rangers are actually undefeated domestically away from home. I think Sean is saying we lost 3-2 to Dundee. Was that the correct one? Not too sure. Need to check the stats on that one again. But it just seems mental that we seem to have. I mean, not losing is fine. We seem to draw a lot of games away from home, Ricky, but we always seem to kind of manage to scrape it through. Are you thinking that he's scraped through? I think a few of the guys had mentioned the other day that they didn't care about winning 1-0, scrappy goals, last-minute goals, and just as long as we're winning games. But now we do something like that where we scrape one, we win by the odd goal, it's a last minute goal, and still we're not happy. Where are you, mate?
Well, for me, we're only kicking the can down the road. Russell Martin is no future with Rangers. Now, I think when you get back to the back end of last season, we were winning a lot of games, especially at Ibrox, by the odd goal. The Hibs game springs to mind. I think we won it 1-0, but they had 18 shots on target. They should have battered. I was actually at the game that day, and there was numerous of games where we just won by the odd goal. Now, going back to sort of the game yesterday, we dominated the first half and we played well in patches. I say patches, probably for the majority of the first half. However, Butland was the one that made the first two saves that they were goal bound, and there were two good saves. So Livingston could have been 1, if not 2-0 up by the time we sort of put any pressure on their keeper. And again, it comes down to our system. We've got fullbacks who are constantly out of position. They can't sort of be in a fullback area. There is no overloads down the side. Ant-Man is never, ever hitting that byline. At least with Gassama, he's trying to take the ball down and produce something for the striker who's in the box at a particular time, or any forward running midfielders. But I don't know about Ant-Man, and I'm not saying it's him. Again, it's got to be our system. Everything is coming back. Asgard, everything is coming back. These boys' confidence is gone. It's shot. Why are we not using their pace, getting down and using the height of Chimeti, for example? What is he, 6'3", 6'4"? Miofsky is no sort of a small lad either. But even as an option, just a sort of plan B, we do not see it. And I just think that David Martindale and managers like that, they listen, they're not stupid. They know how to work our system. And for us to sort of go into the second half and be probably they were the more dominant team. They deserve something out of that game based on how they came at us in that second half. They did really well again. So let's look at these budgets as well. I mean, our budgets is way, way, way far superior to Livingston. And for us to sort of scrape a winner in the 93rd minute, or 94th minute, I just think it's just not good enough. And even at 2-1, the powers that be, Cameron should be looking at us and saying, enough's enough, Russell, away you go. It's happened down in England twice this week now. It needs to happen. As I say, it's going to happen. And all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. And I'm reading that people are going to say it might take an international break before they pull the plug. Well, that could be potentially another 3, maybe 6 points gone. Season's finished.
Yep. Just two things on that, Rick, and I get what you're saying, and I don't think Ant-Man's doing enough, but he did set up Tavernier's goal. It was his cutback for Tav's volley on the bit there. But I think Ant-Man, when we were getting the stats here, he's got our man of the match, which is quite surprising for me as well. Scotty, where are you with all this? Where are you in the kind of opinion that where's this going wrong? Why are we winning games of football, celebrating last minute winners, and then still shouting for the manager's head 30 seconds later?
I think nobody can forget what's happened previously up until yesterday. I mean, fair enough. I mean, we played some decent stuff in that first half, but let's be honest, Livingston started the better team by a country mile. Yeah, they had some good opportunities before we'd even really got our foot on the ball. Stevie made down that flank against Magoma, and Cornelius was giving them a right headache in the opening 10 minutes. And it wasn't really until Martin kind of pushed Tavernier slightly further forward, pulled Magoma back around again and kind of sat him as a kind of back three with Cornelius and Suter that we actually started to get somewhere. But that was only really because Livingston couldn't really read what Rangers were trying to do at that point in time. I agree with the point on Ant-Man. He likes to come inside all the time, and it is a little bit frustrating when you've got guys like Gassama who is trying to get to the byline constantly. It just seems quite disjointed on either side. But we're constantly going to call for the manager's head because everything that's happened up until this, we're a very fickle fan base. We won't forget. We can't forget. Some of the stuff that we've had to put up with in the early season already has been nothing shy of atrocious. It's not a Rangers side that we're watching. And it's going to continue like that as long as Russell Martin is in charge. And I wish I had the faith that Ricky has, because I think he's going to be there for a very long period of time, regardless of what happens.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring the match report up here. And Doug, thanks very much for your efforts as always on this, pal. Obviously, you made this slide there. What was your kind of biggest takeaways from it?
Well, let's say it shows some improvements in certain areas. We had a decent number of shots, good number of shots on targets. We had a couple of big chances. We've had games this season where we haven't had a single big chance, which is just ridiculous. So I think like the kind of chance creation, which that was something that hit me in the game itself as well. In the first half, anyway, we were actually creating good chances. And at half time we should really have been about 2 or 3 up by that point. So those are the kind of main things in terms of the match itself. Like you pointed out there, Mitch's choice for man of the match, he kind of put it between Ant-Man or Gassama. So I sided it to Ant-Man, seeing as he had the assist. Yeah, as I say, I think that was the kind of the main thing that struck me. Is because we do make chances, but we don't necessarily make the best chances or the best types of chances. Whereas I thought in this game, we had a lot of chances that were a lot closer. And also, we had the ball in the net with disallowed goals and things as well. So it's one of those things to say. It's a step in the right direction. But touching on your point before, I think we can look at this game. You can look at the game in isolation, in which case you can be happy that we got the victory in the end. We fought to the last minute and got a last minute goal, and you can be happy about all of that stuff looking at the game in isolation. But then you look at the game in the context of the season, and that's where you're unhappy because it's the lack of performance is the bigger problem. We will win games every so often if you just keep playing, because we do have players that we've spent money on that do have a higher technical ability than most of their opponents. So even if they're not playing well, they're going to dig out a victory here and there. But the problem is that, it's here and there, and the good is the exception, which is the problem right now. The good is the exception, and we should be the other way around, where bad performances should be the exception, where we scrape the victories.
Yeah, Ricky, there's some calls here that most of the guys in the comments here are shouting out that Barron at 5.5 has been pretty harsh on him. Ant-Man getting the 6 and getting the man of the match. Mitch is getting a wee bit of sticky as well, which I don't mind at all. What were your kind of opinions in these ratings? Do you think they're accurate? Is there anything you'd like to bring up about it?
Well, I thought Barron played exceptionally well. He's the one lad that will give you bite in there. His energy is fantastic. That's a good Russell Martin sort of a word, but Barron never stops. And where he might not be the most elegant of football players, he gives you 100%, and that alone is very infectious. Hence why he's liked by the Rangers support. He's not a bad football player. So yeah, I thought Barron and Raskin played quite well. But for me, and again, Ryan, you've already mentioned it. Excuse me. This is Livingston. They've just been promoted. Budgets are miles and miles apart. So we shouldn't even be in a contest here. We should be going and scoring 4 or 5 goals, even at Livingston. I know it's a 4G pitch, but we've got a 4G pitch ourselves to train on, so I don't buy that as an excuse. But when you look at that formation there, Asgard really needs to be the 10 in that kind of formation here, if you like, who is providing the kind of the guile to forward passes, in behind Suknovsky or Chimete, whoever it may be, can latch onto something. Now, at the moment, Miovsky, whether it was Dessers or whether it was whoever may be up top in this system, we are not getting enough support to that lone striker. And he's making the lone striker look as if he's not good enough. Miovsky is a good football player. He's a good finisher. We're just not supporting that player the best we can. Now, this is going back to Ant-Man. I'm not decrying Ant-Man's a decent player. I actually think the recruitment's probably been quite good, but we're just not utilising the players to the best of their ability due to the system. Now, Ant-Man's got the pace. If he was to take more people on, rather than coming inside and being negative, or it looks to be negative all the time, he's coming into a packed midfield, and they're running a risk of losing that ball there. it breaks down, and all of a sudden we're up against it, and we're then defending our own goal. And it's happened so often. We're coming into a congested area. Instead of using the whole width of the pitch, use the pace that we've got. We've got to try and use the strengths to the players' ability that we have. And Ant-Man is an international football player who's regularly picked for his country. And I just don't think he's been allowed to be the player that we know he probably can be. And that's taking on his fullback, taking on his man. Doesn't have to go down the wing all the time, but just try and be a little bit more productive, a little bit more, productive is probably a decent word, and just get some more service into the striker who's always seems to be isolated. Now, we need to turn that over to Livingston. When they were attacking us, they were always getting the Stevie May was always getting involved. Or the big boy that came on. Their system allowed, when they were attacking, to utilise their front runners. And it's something that we have lacked doing under Russell Martin. And it's a worry for me, because Asgard, and I don't want to pick on the lad, because he's clearly a decent player, but what is he offering in that role? He's not. Everything is just so negative. It's like recycle. We're not actually getting anywhere. In the second half proved that. We were a non-entity in the second half because we don't have that threat going forward. And against Livingston, it's not good enough.
Yep. I'm glad you mentioned Asgard. He was actually the guy who was going to come into next year and talking about the recruitment being good. I think he's probably somebody that's probably massively underperformed. And it's a shame that Lyle Cameron isn't there at this moment in time to actually challenge for his position, because Scotty, I'm going to come to you with this one, mate. How do you rate Asgard's impact so far? Obviously, he's allowed this bedding in period and maybe things don't work, but I don't see his work. There was a comment earlier on in the comments there asking, could we get a hold of his heat map and actually look at his heat map? And I'm seeing that I don't think his work rate's good enough. I think he looks quite lazy, to be honest.
I agree. 100% agree with you. He was actually the player that I was most excited about coming in when we'd announced that we were looking at Tello Asgard. I'd actually watched his debut for Norway just kind of randomly months and months ago, just because I happened to be on the TV way before we were linked with him, way before I'd even heard of Tello Asgard. And he looked like a really good player. I'm really impressed with him. So obviously when we came in for him, I'm a bit excited about the prospect of this guy coming in. He's a big, tall, strong boy. He's quick feet. He's got quick feet. He can pick a pass. He's good with a set piece. That's not the Asgard that we've got. Like you say, Ryan, he does look lazy. He looks uninterested. He looks like he just can't be bothered. And I don't think that's anything down to the fact that other than there's just this big dark cloud that's hanging over the club just now. I think he maybe seems like a bit of a confidence player. Things aren't going well around him, and he's maybe just dipped his head a little bit, but he's clinging onto that shirt with his fingernails, because, like you say, if Lyle Cameron's there, that's his jersey to take. He really needs to start putting in a performance. He really needs to start doing well and actually start looking as if he's interested. Some things he's done, he's been effective. Don't get me wrong. I think he'd done a lot of dirty work against Callum McGregor, and he took him out of the game. I thought he played reasonably well. But it's not the player that we thought we were going to get, or I thought we were going to get anyway. Obviously, he picked up his injury against Dunfermline pre-season, and that's when you start to hear the likes of the Rangers management side and sort of senior people behind the scenes are really excited about Asgard coming back into the team. But we've just not seen it as yet. And I don't really know how we can go ahead and get that out of him. Is he playing out of position? Is he unhappy? Is he unsettled? Is it just not clicking for him? I just don't know. But he's really disappointed me so far, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think we're still going to find. We've obviously got options within the three in midfield with Diomande. Cameron is still going to go back in. Bajrami's in there. Barron seems to come in, and when he does come in, seems to do a good job. I still don't think Russell Martin knows his strongest midfield. I still don't think he's actually got that. And I don't think he's actually fully worked out what his midfield kind of tactic is. Is he sitting with a double pivot like we can see here? Is he sitting with just one? So I think there's still time to go, but I think Asgard does need to pull his socks up. And what you were saying about Callum McGregor, he done a good job on Callum McGregor. I want Callum McGregor doing a job on him. I don't want us worrying about their captain. I want their captain worrying about our number 10. And where is he? Is he lying deep? Is he coming into play? Is he making runs into the box and stuff? I don't want to be worrying about him. You know, he's old news. He's 30-odd-year-old. When this guy's young, He's up and coming. He's the one that should be getting worried about. Doug, I'm going to come to you, mate. I'm going to give you your place on this one as the president of the James Tavernier Supporters Club. So we're going to be doing our job right. And the guy that kind of splits the fan base, I'll take this away here. A guy that kind of splits the fan base, James Tavernier entered the top 10 of all appearances for Rangers at the weekend, when he'd made his 527th performance for us. It's perfectly feasible by the end of the season he's actually going to get into the top 5. He's obviously got a great injury record and he does well, and he's always been one of our more kind of ever-present players over the season. I think you probably count in one hand the amount of injuries he's had in the 10 years he's been with us. Where does he sit with you as far as all-time greatest players? Obviously, a contract at the end of the season. I see Curry's entered the room. Is he due another year's contract? A lot of people are saying, there's comments here that he's our best player at this moment in time. I think I can bring these up here if I can find them here. Can't see them now. But there's basically people saying that Tavernier looks like our best player at the moment. Where are you as far as his overall contribution to the club? But where is it at this moment in time with the team?
Well, I'll take in terms of overall contract, as far as I'm concerned, Tav is a Rangers legend. But there is the caveat to that, which I think is fair, that people obviously will note that the lack of trophies over his period of time. Now, that's not his fault. There's only so much one person can do in a team game. So there's an element of that. But ultimately, in terms of the players who are the absolute elite legends, your top level greatest of all time, he's not quite at that point, and because of the lack of trophies. So, he's not a McCoist, if you want to use that as an example. But he's the run below in terms of, and if you look at, because people use that as a criticism for him being in the Hall of Fame, there's other players in the Hall of Fame that have low to no trophies, and they're in there because of their contribution to the club, whether that's goals scored or something else, and that's why Tavernier deserves to be in there, because this is a guy that is ultimately dedicated his career to the club. Played here for 11 years. The goals and assists that he's given are just absolutely ludicrous for a fullback. Even in the modern game where attacking fullbacks are meant to do that, it's still a ludicrous level. And he is a player that does dig us out of games, get us points, win us trophies. For example, our last trophy, the League Cup, he scores the goal that wins that trophy. Took us to a European final. He's got so many things that you can point to other than trophies, and so that's my answer to that question. In terms of where he is in the team right now, as I say, I obviously think Tav is a great player, and great players always find a way to contribute even when they're playing poorly. So I put up a stat yesterday that I found in the comments of Heart and Hands post-match that Tav had missed 12 penalties, but we'd gone on to win all of those games despite that. And Curry, bless him, came in and said, so we win in spite of him, not because of him. But when you actually go digging a little bit further, out of those 12 games, he may have missed a penalty, but he still scored a goal in 7 of them. And then for the remaining games that he didn't score a goal, the 5 remaining he didn't score, he got an assist in 3 of them. So there's only actually 2 there where we won in spite of. He still contributed. And to me, that is what a good player does. They find a way to contribute even when they're not at their best. And I think the majority of the time Tavernier does that. And we're seeing that at the moment. I wouldn't go so far as to say he's our best player. He's definitely one of our best players. He's been involved in a lot of our goals. I still think if you're talking best player, you'd still give that to Raskin, sort of all in. But yeah, as I say, he's still there. He's still contributing. He's still helping dig us out of things. He took the corner that led to Curtis's equaliser. He obviously got the goal, the equalising goal for Motherwell game. He scored in this one. Should have scored a penalty, but a good save. So yeah, he's contributing when we need him. We're struggling right now, and he's given that contribution. In terms of the last point you made about him getting an extra year, I do think that's more just us kind of feeling desperate because we are playing so poorly. I do still think, as much as I am as the paid up member of the Tavernier fan club, I have still said over the past 2 seasons that we do need to start moving forward past the Tavernier era. It is a bit ridiculous that 11 years in, we are still relying on him to dig us out of things. And we should have at least one or two other players that are capable of fulfilling that role. And I still think we're struggling for that, and that's a fault of the club. But there does come a time where you do have to say, we've had a great time here, and you've been a great servant, but we need to move forward as a club. And I do think we are at that point. So I did this. I can't remember what pod it was earlier in the season. I was actually the only one that said we shouldn't give him a new contract. But as I say, I do think there's a point where you do kind of have to move forward, and I think we are at that point. Because he's not getting any younger, and he will only continue to sort of obviously makes certain mistakes. Now, you do notice he's not able to quite get back as much, and as much as he wants to contribute going forward and is able to do that, there is that attributable. You still need him to be getting back when we need it as well. So yeah, hopefully, obviously Aaron's has got his goal there and back in the team. Hopefully that can be a turnaround for him, and we can see him come back into the team, perform a little bit, put pressure on the position. But yeah, so that's how I would answer those three.
Sure. Ricky, if he gets another year's deal, he's obviously top 10. I think he's, by looking at the forecast, obviously nothing crazy happens, he's going to be in the top 5. If he gets his new deal, he's going to be in the top 3 of all-time Rangers appearances, and only Sandy Jardine and John Gregg are going to be ahead of him. Nobody will ever get past Sandy Jardine and John Gregg. I think Sandy Jardine was sitting at 620 games and John Gregg sitting at 750 over 18 years. It's never going to get beaten, all right? But he's going to go ahead of Alan McCoist. And there's other guys on the list there that played way back in the 20s and the 30s and stuff. People in the comments here are saying that he's not a legend, right? But purely for appearances only, where are you for that? The trophy hall is what it is. It's not necessarily his fault. Football's a team game, not a one-man sport. Where would you be for that bit?
Well, I think Jug's made a lot of good positive points about Tavernier. I've been anti-Tavernier, pro-Tavernier, anti-Tavernier, pro-Tavernier. I think we all have over the period of maybe the last 3 seasons. He's finished, he's not finished. But I'll tell you one thing, he's the first guy on your team sheet this season. When he was not playing, and when he came back on off the substitute bench, we looked a far, far better, comfortable team when he's in it. He's still the only player that can chip in with not only just assists but goals. And Russell Martin has got to have him at right back with Buckland starting and Raskin in the middle of the park. And even Raskin wasn't even starting because of the few they had with Martin. And they're the kind of only 3 that I would probably say that are nailed on starters. Maybe Gassama's getting there now. So it's a difficult one. Is he a legend, Ryan? Then I would probably say yes. Maybe people won't realise it now, but I guarantee when he's gone, and we look back at the stats, the goals, the assists, everything he's done for our club, and Doug's alluded to that, they haven't won as many trophies as our pure legends have. What's a pure legend? Tavernier has contributed massively to our football club, and maybe not right now, but in hindsight, when he's gone, he will go down as a legend, and I for one, would hold him as a legend because just what he's done. The downside is he's never been a fantastic defender, and that's always been the problem. And I've been an advocate of moving Tav forward for the past couple of seasons. We never replaced Tav. Sterling's never been fit enough to go in there. I don't think Aaron's is the answer. So he's kind of nailed on that position anyway. We never brought in well, we did bring in Aaron's, so that's probably not true. But Aaron's, for me, isn't up to it. We didn't bring in another left back. We brought in a boy from Brentford on loan, who is actually quite a decent player. But what happens to him when he gets injured? Our whole recruitment round about our defensive unit has been not up to scratch. It could have been a lot better because we are still quite defensively looking quite vulnerable. I think we've brought in decent players on the attacking side of our game. Two new strikers have come in. We'll get bags of wingers now, which we were struggling with. The central midfield, as you've already said, Ryan, he might not even know what his best midfield is to accommodate the kind of system he wants to play. The one thing I'll give to Russell Martin, by the way, which I have noticed, is the tippy-tappy football and taking all these mistakes that we're seeing in the early European games, he seems to have cut that out. So whether he's maybe took the pressure from the media, the fans booing, blah, 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 that doesn't seem to be such a major risk anymore. The ball's going long when it needs to go long. You can see that from Butland. If Butland hasn't got, he's still got a mistake in him. We all know that from Butland. But Jack Butland's been a revelation this season, considering how he finished last. He's been absolutely fantastic for us, and so has Tav. So I think Russell Martin is trying to sort of accommodate the punters, accommodate his style of play. But for me, the key part which is lacking is that 3 in the middle of the park. I don't like it. I don't think we've got a 10 in there that's good enough. The 2 pivot boys are doing their job well, but we're just totally strangled in there. I would like to see a different formation. And we had this in the pod. I'd like to see the 3 at the back with 5 across the middle with the 2 strikers on the park at the same time. And if one of them could act as a number 10, maybe be off because he's a bit more mobile, let's try that. But we need to try and get some width and utilise the park. At the moment, as I've said before, it's all getting jammed in the middle of the park, and it's just taking too many of our players out, and we're not utilising the full 11 because of the system. Yep.
Scotty, coming to you, mate. This is one here. I couldn't believe my eyes yesterday, to be honest with you. And as much as it's harsh, I kind of believe with this that there, Ant-Man, who actually get man of the match, which was suggested he was playing well, got withdrawn in the 73rd minute. Now, we're obviously just lost a goal there. We're looking to score another one. And he's brought on Moore again, after obviously dropping him for Ant-Man. What does Finlay Curtis need to do to get a game for Rangers? And what has he done to find himself so far down the pecking order? He basically brought on Bajrami and Moore yesterday, with Curtis is sitting there. And we all know the wee man's got a goal in him. What does he need to do to get him find himself back in the team?
I think he needs to play for Spurs and have a clause in his contract where he needs to play a certain amount of games for Rangers, to be honest with you. I don't quite understand it. Finlay Curtis obviously started off the season really well. Great performance against Panathinaikos, great goal. And then we go and bring in Mikey Moore, who I have no doubt will go on to have a successful career, but it just seems like the shirt's too heavy for him just now. He looks like a rabbit in the headlights. And I feel sorry for him to an extent, but Russell Martin needs to start bleeding our own players here. I can only assume that there is some massive fine that Rangers will endure if we don't play him for a certain amount of games, because he's offered nothing so far. And I want to like the wee guy, and I'll always get behind him like any other Rangers player, but I don't quite get it. I want to see Finlay Curtis on. I want to see the Scottish boys. I want to see our own players. I want to see them grow and actually be able to come in to these games and be able to turn the game for us. I don't understand. I mean, there's a lot that I don't understand what's going on at the club just now, to be fair, just like everyone else. But I don't quite understand this constant need to go to Mikey Moore before Finlay Curtis, or go to Mikey Moore and play him out of position, for instance, just to try and accommodate the young boy being on the park. I want to see Finlay Curtis there as much as everybody else, and it's very, very frustrating when you see that number coming up and you see 47 coming on. You're going, why are we bringing on Mikey Moore? Because the wee fella's not going to change anything for us. When Finlay Curtis has come on, and even in his short period at the Rangers first team, has actually got a track record of making a change in games for us, in our own favour, obviously. So, yeah, I don't quite understand it. What do you think about it? What do you think Finlay Curtis needs to do to get a run?
I can't understand why we're developing somebody else's player. We've got an 18-year-old boy sitting there who's our own, and it's there. And listen, I'm all for giving Moore a chance, and he's not done anything for me. So if you're not doing anything, you move on to the next guy, and that's football at the end of the day. If you're not producing the goods, if you're not producing the numbers, it goes to somebody else. If they're not doing that, you might get another chance to come back in. But for me, he's doing nothing, and I think it probably sums up our season so far. To be honest, that it's the craziness that he keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different outcomes, and it's just for simple reasons not working. Doug, I'll come to you, mate. I just tracking back a wee bit. Talk me through the goal that we lost. I can't believe Kasama's been left out wide with 2 men to mark.
Yeah, two men. And one of the, because Hammond's not the biggest guy in the world, and he's left with one of the biggest guys on the pitch, the goal scorer. Salah's a big lad, a strong guy. So I think was it Dundee he was at last season. He's a really good player for like that level mid table SPL side. And if you're got the space he got in addition as well, someone I can't remember who it was made a good point about sometimes we have a tendency to look down on players, but at the end of the day, if you're playing in the SPL, you're still a professional footballer, and you give someone that time and space, and they're going to score. And it's just another one of those, another example of the kind of disappointing defending that we've had this season. We've got two main Achilles heels. I think the first is the high line, which leads to that ball over the top, which we've seen multiple teams utilize and gain chances and score goals from. And then there's the goals like this where our marking just seems to be non-existent. We do seem to have this kind of pseudo mixed zonal plus man marking, which just doesn't seem to really be working, because we just keep leaving players free, and it tells the higher quality team we play, the more that tells. Like when we played Bruges, the amount of space they got because they were able to just find little pockets in the box, even when we would have 9-10 players in the kind of area and surrounding, they would still be finding masses of space. So if we keep doing that, we will keep losing goals, and that's been the one side of the coin that's been our problem, where we're losing goals, and then we're not creative enough to score goals, and so it's no wonder that you find ourselves sitting here with so many draws.
Ricky, I think we look chronic. Defending crosses for me, we just look so weak. Excuse me. I think four of the 6 goals that Bruce scored were crosses. We're still seeing it now that even lower quality opposition, and no offence to Livingston when I say that, are still finding joy of scoring against us crosses. Teams are going to clock this, right? And managers are going to look back and say, they're losing goals from corners, they're losing goals from crosses, constantly. Now, we've paid £3.5 million for Big Fernandez, right? He's not even in the squad, anywhere near it. But he's something like, 6'5", 6'6", something. He's crazy, he's colossal, how big he is. When we're losing goals like this, why are we not thinking about either switching it to a back three so that we've got another centre-half in there to help deal with these crosses and stop losing goals? Or why do we keep going with guys like Suter? Suter was shocking for their goal yesterday. Absolutely shocking. It was borderline amateur what was going on there.
Yeah, well, height's certainly not an issue, Ryan, with the recruitment. You get Cornelius that's come in, as you say, Fernandez, £3.5 million, Giga up on loan, £10 million he cost when Spurs when Wales bought him. So the height's there. John Suter, John Suter, his positional play has been shocking for years. He's a good defender. And he pinged a couple of good sort of like 30-40 goals and sort of a type passes on the yesterday, straight to Gassama's foot. Brilliant passes, but he just lets himself down as a defender with his positional play. Any kind of somebody coming in behind his sort of blind side, positionally, he just doesn't get it, and he ain't going to improve because he's at the back end of his career now. It's not as if he's going to learn from his mistakes, because he'll have done that years ago. But we've seen the mistakes, with the high line, as Dig alluded to there. When Giga, he was found wanted. The ball down through the middle of 2 centre halves, bang, and that's when we're down a goal because of that high line. I think he's dropping that a little bit now. So I think, again, Russell Martin, to his credit, is looking at that and sort of trying to squeeze that line back a little bit so there's not so much room between the goalkeeper and our back four when they're playing that high line, which does seem to help. But even with pace, we seem to be getting done with pace. And I don't know, Cornelius is a 55 capped Canadian international. He's a good player, looking very ordinary in our league. And again, does it come down to the system? But yeah, Fernandes, Giga, Suter, Cornelius. There's a couple of lads there who've come in away on loan as well. There's another guy, name escapes me at the moment. Enciala. Again, what's that lad doing? He didn't go on loan. Is he just sitting down with the B team? So these are the kind of players that I believe that should be getting introduced because they're our future. They're our players. Giga is not our player, although as much I think we need to utilise him against the likes of Livingston's because of his height. Now, that goal that we lost, you have to say it was a fantastic cross that came in, but it was just over the top of Cornelius. So on the zonal kind of mark, and he can't attack it because it's above him. So it's Suter as a man that should be coming round the back and clearing everything behind him. But he just stood there, and the boy between Suter and Cornelius, they must have been about no more than 3 metres apart. And that boy's getting between the two of them. It's just shocking. It's just shouldn't. I mean, I dare say as well, Cornelius probably could have and should have shuffled back a bit because it wasn't a driven ball. It was like a crossed ball, if you know what I mean. It wasn't driven over. It was inch perfect for the lad, but we should be dealing with it a lot better. I think Jack Butland was probably out the game. I don't think he could have came for that because I think that's. When I was critical of Jack Butland last year, I think it's because he doesn't dominate his 6-yard box enough for such a big lad. But that was then. I don't think he could be held accountable for that goal yesterday. It was straight. It was a good ball, inch perfect. But between Cornelius and Suter, they should be dealing with that.
See, my opinion is the cross should never happen. The fact that Gassama's been left 2-on-1 is, mate, you teach that to 2010 kids. That's something that you do early doors. Somebody's on the taker, somebody's on the spare man out there, and if they do that properly, the cross never happens. The crosses happen, goals happen.
But this is, Ryan, what I was saying earlier on in tonight's pod. We've got fullbacks who don't play at fullbacks. They're out of position all the time. There's no discipline in their back four. They can't. They don't seem to have the sense or the positional sense to be in the danger zone. I didn't actually pick up on the fact that young Gassama had 2 players again. So where was Magoma? Where was he at this particular time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't actually pick him up. But it does sort of exaggerate what I was saying earlier on. We've got our fullbacks who just don't do their job.
What does Magoma offer in the box in a header situation? He's short. He's short young guy. He's not going to go up and start. The land of the giants and the balls are coming in, stuff like that. What's he got to offer? So he should be out there.
To be fair to the lad, Ryan, when he did lose the ball on a couple of occasions, I actually think he's a decent player. The boys get the strength and the pace to get back and recover that ball, which he did prove to do, which I was pleasing to see. And he is a young lad, and he will get better. What I'm concerned about is the only left back we've got at the club, and that's criminal.
Yeah. Well, Aaron's maybe put his hat back in the ring with his goal and stuff like that. Scotty, I'll come to you, moving on to the goal here. Before we talk about Aaron's win, I want to talk about Nico Naskin and the impact that he's had in the last 2 domestic games. I'm going to ignore the Ghent game, and I think that's for obvious reason why we're ignoring the Ghent game and I'll talk about this. But you can see the difference that Raskin has made since he's come back into the team, that he's obviously got the goal against Hibs. He's, won the penalty that obviously was missed, but he was still causing the problems to win the penalty. I think it's his front post flick on that's led to Aaron's goal. Me and Ricky were debating during the summer about selling Raskin. Thankfully, it didn't happen. I was in the wrong. I said we should be selling him. Thankfully, it didn't happen. Where do you see Raskin? How important is he to the team moving forward?
I think Raskin's huge. Moving forward, I mean, we've seen the difference that he made when he came back in for the Hibs game. He basically took that game with the scruff of the neck and ran the show for Rangers from the middle of the park. But see, one thing that I would like to touch on with Raskin is how impressed that I've got with his movement inside the box of late. Obviously, he's got across the defenders for the header for the Hibs goal. He's won the ball yesterday for the knockdown for Aarons. And obviously, he's got the march on his defender for to win the penalty yesterday as well. I just think he's such an important player. I think he's got the ability to bring players into a game around him as well. I wouldn't mind a better foil for him. whether that be Joe Rothwell or Lyle Cameron or Nadeem Barami. I'm not a big fan of Diamande. For a long period last season, I didn't think they could play together that well. I thought as when they were playing as a kind of double pivot, they kind of ruled each other out of the game. But I think Raskin is massive for Rangers, and the proof's in the pudding with it, really. I mean, I still believe that if Russell Martin hadn't brought him in for that Hibs game, we'd have been sitting here having a very different podcast just now, because we might not have progressed in the League Cup against Hibs, and we might not have got that win yesterday, albeit it was a wee bit shaky at times. But I just think he's such an important player for Rangers, and I think he has the ability to bring players into a game as well. He's got a great range of passing, he's got good vision about him, and he's a wee terrier. We know that he's going to snap at people's heels constantly. Maybe part of a game that he needs to work on, where he's sort of lets himself down slightly, where he a wee bit mistimed challenges here and there. But I think he's a really good player, and he's really important for us going forward.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you. Doug, obviously the goal went in, and I'm going to ask you honestly, what was your initial reaction when the goal went in? How did you feel when the ball hit the back of the net?
Ecstatic. I'm not having all this nonsense about people saying I don't enjoy the goal or anything like that. If you're not enjoying Rangers scoring goals, especially last minute winners, then there's something much deeper wrong with you. So yeah, as I celebrated it the same as any other one. Yes, once you get past, once the game's over and you sit down and you're looking at things again in the wider context, then you can go, okay, well, it was a last minute winner. We shouldn't be winning games like that, etc. But there will never be a day that I will not be celebrating and enjoying a last minute winner, regardless of the circumstances.
Right, mate. Ricky, we always kind of talk about sliding doors moments for Rangers players. I think we've seen that. I think it was Borna Barisic scored a goal against St Mirren. It was a free kick. I think he scored that. Obviously, if he hadn't have scored that, I don't think he would have went on and had any kind of relative Rangers career. I'd obviously, as his example just in my head there, but there's probably been moments in the past where Rangers players have had that just one moment, that one game, and it's either make or break for them. Do you think that might have been Max Aarons' moment yesterday?
Personally, mate, I don't think so. I don't think he's cut out for Scottish football. I think he's just probably too small, too weak for the Scottish game. We've got a right back there that's 5'5", whatever he may be. We've seen already, I mean, he has been starting the game early doors when he was keeping tab on the bench, that he was getting brushed off the ball quite easily. He's not that pacey. So for me, he has been a liability. I mean, he scored the goal, don't get me wrong, and we're all very grateful for it. It brings us within 7 points of Celtic, which is not unsurmountable that we cannot catch that 7 point. So, I mean, we're thankful that, with them dropping points on Saturday, it was imperative that we won that game yesterday. But to do it in the 94th minute, and I think this is where the fans, Doug, I know we all never want to not celebrate a Rangers goal, but up until that point, the abuse, the toxicity in that stadium, 3 stands are ours, and the abuse that Martin's getting, I don't understand how that boy just doesn't walk away. He's very, very thick-skinned. Either that or he's looking for his big payday for getting the sack, which is probably the case. But it was a throw of the dice. Aaron's just happened to be at the right place at the right time. The ball fell to him and he put it away. Will it be a pivotal point which will potentially move his Ibrox career on, Ryan? I don't see it, mate. I think we've seen it with Diomande, for example, where he'll have maybe a 1-2 games, or maybe this is the time we're going to get the Diomande we all thought we were going to get when he came in for the £4 million. And it just hasn't happened for the lad. He can't put together a consistent level of play over a period of games. And he's not the only one, Diomande, by the way. Bajrami's another one. What a talented boy he is, and he just cannot give us any consistency. I've said for a while, he could be that number 10, but if you just give him the chance to get in about that, because the boy's a talented player, played in good level of leagues before he came to us. Max Aarons is never really made it. He's always been out on loan, albeit he's at a very good club at the moment down in Bournemouth. That's not an easy team to get into by any stretch of imagination. So on paper, is he a good player? He probably is, but is he right for us? Is he right for the Scottish game? Is he right for us as a right back? I'm not convinced. I'd rather have Tav in there, mate.
Thanks, mate. Listen, we'll move on to Thursday. Scotty, we're going out to Graz, and we can't take this game lightly. They're sitting second at the moment in the Austrian League. I think they played here at the league table 2 seconds ago, so I'll quickly find it here. Certainly sitting second here, started well. Played 7, won 5, and only lost the 2 games here. How do you see us going? Do you think it's going to be another one of these nights behind the couch? Where do you see us?
I can't see anything but that, to be honest with you. I think it's one of those teams that if we'd played in the Europa League last season, I wouldn't have had any fear at all. It's the kind of team that Rangers should be putting to bed. But how we're set up at the moment, how we're looking, the sort of the dark cloud that's hanging over us even after a victory, it's kind of difficult to see anything but that. They're going to make things difficult. They make things hostile. They'll make things nice and tight on the park. They'll play the way that they want to play, and more importantly as well, they'll have done their homework on us. They'll see the gaping holes in our back line. They'll see that players aren't shutting down crosses, that there's massive gaps in between Cornelius and Suter, or Suter and Giga, whoever it may well be. And they'll be well versed in what we do and what we can't do. If I was Sturm Graz, I wouldn't have a great deal of fear, because even though we scored twice at the weekend, they both came for right full-backs. We still have real difficulty finding our centre forward, although Miovski missed a pretty good chance in the first half, to be fair, after some decent work by Raskin. But I'm not confident, to be honest with you, and it pains me to say it, but I'm just not. I can't see anything but. And the Europa League start that we've had, Genk at home, Sturm Graz away, and this is before your Romas and your Portos. These games start to play. We should be picking up maximum points against these teams to put us into a decent position for a potential slip up against Porto away or Roma at home, however it may well be. But I can't see anything except another sort of turgid, frightening display from Russell Martin's team. But listen, we'll see what happens. Stranger things have happened. I never expected Max Ernst to pop up and score the winner for us on Sunday, so we'll see what happens on Thursday.
Doug, have you got any confidence getting to Thursday?
I mean, I've still got some. So the team does have a tendency still to play well in Europe. As you say, Sturm Graz are a good team, but they're not the hardest team that we're going to be facing. I do think we are good enough to get a result, but I mean they've put the pressure on themselves by failing at the first hurdle. So we started off with a home tie against another good team. Don't get me wrong, Genk are a good side as well, but a side that we can go into the game confidently. And we've messed that up. So now there is the pressure to get points from this game, and indeed the next one. We've got 2 away games in a row with Sturm Graz and Brann. So we've got a good record against Austrian sides. We've faced 7 matches against Austrian teams, and we've won 5 of them. So history hopefully on our side. Most of those ties against Rapid Vienna. So as I say, we've got the history there. We've got the ability. I think we do have the team, but I think it'll come down to individual error, perhaps, because that's what's been causing us problems. People making individual errors, like Diomande, making that tackle and getting himself sent off. Defensive errors and things like that. If they have a decent night and keep the errors to a minimum, then there's every chance that they can get the result. But if anyone makes any silly errors, then you're likely to get punished. That was one of the things that helped us get as far through our Champions League qualifiers, was that a lot of the times when we made errors, they weren't getting punished because the opposition's didn't have their shooting boots on. So, as I say, confidence is not as high as it would have been if, like Scott said, if this was last year, I'd be going into this going, we can win this 100%, definitely, really happy. But the team's changed a bit since then, and the confidence in the management isn't there. So we can win, but will we win? We'll have to see.
Ricky, is it as simple as just cutting out the mistakes to get the win over there? Do we need to do more than that?
I think we need to do more than that, but it's certainly a guaranteed the factor that if you're going to take all these chances and mess about in the areas where you're going to get punished, these teams at this level will punish you. It's as simple as that. And as I said, I think Russell Martin is starting to learn a little bit that over that, which is good to see. But for me, we need to be disciplined. We need to defend. We need to make sure our positional play in the back four is as good as it can be. If our back four does well, then we'll give ourselves every opportunity. Because for me, I think he'll start with Raskan and Barron as the two pivot lads, protecting the back four where possible. And then it becomes, who is going to do the creative spark. Now, we've got the two wingers that can obviously create, which will probably be Ant-Man and Gassama. Maybe he'll start making move. I don't know. Time will tell. Clearly, that guy's got some sort of a written instruction in his loan that he's got to play with us for X amount of games. Nobody really knows that for sure, but it seems apparent, that's got to be the case. And then for me, it's who's going to play that 10. I think he'll certainly start with Miovski, but the person that's going to play that 10 is going to be so key to any attacking threat that we should pose, because they're going to have their chances. We're no mugs at this level. If we can perform well, we've proven this year already that we can perform well in Europe, albeit it was at Ibrox. But funny enough, when we go away from home, Nice last year, we go away, we scored 3-4 goals last year down there. So we'll be hurting. Those lads will be hurting. Russell Martin will be hurting. We didn't take advantage of the game last Thursday. So if Rangers need to start turning this corner, then why not Thursday? It's got to be this Thursday. But for God's sake, let's just keep things tight at the back and let's get the formation, the players that is going to play in this formation playing to the best of their ability. And I'd suggest Asgard isn't linking enough in that 10 for him to start. It's got to be somebody else. Clearly, it's not Diomande because he's now suspended. Whoever that's going to be, I'm not sure.
Well, there's Asgard's seat back for whoever was asking for it, and I don't think that is
That's
of enough.
90 minutes.
That's 90 minutes, and you can see the arrow at the top there, as in we're going this way. That's not a Rangers number 10 in a million years. That's a left back.
That is ridiculous. That is pretty alarming. Alarming.
It's no good. It's no good enough. So anyway, we're not here to slag the boy off. So hopefully he does. But hopefully he's got a corner to turn. Hopefully he's got another couple of years to go to. We'll get finished up. Scotty, anything before we go, mate?
No, not particularly. Not just. Well, after all my negativity tonight, I'm just grateful that we get 3 points yesterday, and hopefully that's something to build upon anyway, regardless of the chance and all the abuse that Russell Martin's taken. Hopefully can take it into Thursday and we can get something that will surprise me, and that's something.
Right, well, thanks for coming on, mate. Doug, just before you go, mate.
Yeah, I'm sorry to do this, but there's one thing. When we were talking about Tav earlier, there's a couple of comments that came up. That's something that comes up a lot when in the Tav discussion, and that's the comment of, "Oh, but he's cost us as many goals as he's gotten us, or how many goals has he cost us since we returned to the Premier League, not including the current season? Rangers have lost 315 goals in the league, and Tavernier has 277 goal contributions." So essentially, when you're making that comment, you're basically saying that Tavernier is at fault for practically every single league goal we've lost since returning to the league, which is quite clearly ludicrous. So enough. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your comments, even those ones.
Yeah. Ricky, before you go, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. Yeah, looking forward to Thursday. And I like any other Rangers fan, I just want to see them go out there, perform. There's no reason why they can't go over there and just try and enjoy it. Go for the victory and bring 3 points back home. Certainly come back with a draw. We'd lift the spirits a little bit. We need to start building momentum. They got the victory yesterday, albeit late, but it could be the start of things to get better. But thanks very much for having us tonight, guys. I enjoyed it.
No problem. And listen, all the guys and gals that are going over there that follow the team far and wide, cheer them on for me, please. I'm not going to make this one. Hope you all travel safely, you get back safe, and of course look after each other and enjoy yourselves more than anything else, please. That's all for us tonight. We've just hit the hour mark, so it just remains to say, obviously, please like and subscribe, get us followed on YouTube, hit us onto the wee bell there so that you always get a notification when we're going live. We're here every night, and as it goes to say, every night is a Rangers Journal night. Thank you and good night.